Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline live in the BPTV studios. We got a new cameraman with us, Ethan. He's on the ball. He's already yelled at us at least 3 or 4 times. He gave us a nice countdown.
And the picture is he on?
And we got a nice, he'll be getting nice close-ups of Smoking Jim Frazier. That's his man there. You all right, Smoking Jim?
Yeah, yes, sir. Just got a text from Ethan.
Thanks for watching us on Comcast 7, only in Bethel Park. We appreciate you. Ran into a couple people this week, said, "Who's that guy with you?" I said, "That Ed McMahon." They go, "Yeah, that's him. He's always laughing and he knows his Steelers. And he knows football." So they're watching the show. And then thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 here in Bethel and Nemacolin all the way to Cranberry, Wexford, and every point in between. We appreciate you out there watching us each night and giving us the likes on our Facebook page. We went down to 6,395. Now we're back to 6,398.
All right.
So those numbers are bouncing. Like my daughter told me years ago, haters are going to hate. So I don't know why they're unliking us and then liking us. But it's probably something Smoking Jim keeps saying about the Steelers because it seems to fluctuate a little bit. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. I got Chip Hainer with us and Smoking Jim Frazier, who I already mentioned 2 or 3 times. And he's color coordinated with that Bulls hat again. Why he's wearing Bulls is beyond me, but maybe he'll tell us in his segments because it seems a little shaky. And before we go away from me, I want to thank Olive Oil's Pizzeria and Hillcrest Shopping Center. We'll just keep talking here. We had some complications with the camera crew.
Technical issues.
Yeah, a little technical stuff. We do this live TV each time, and had a couple distractions. I was a little distracted there, but I'm back now. Check out Olive Oil's Pizzeria. We had a great pizza and a steak hoagie. 412-831-1900. Ethan, could you pull up on this at all? Are you able to pull a close-up on this? I don't know if you can pull in there and show the people a nice pizza and stuff that's on there.
It is good.
There we go. We got a close-up.
We're out of focus, but we're okay.
Yeah. We'll tighten that up as we get along. We'll have some more things. I'll have some more stuff a little later on for you, Ethan, so stay tuned. All right, we start our show off with what's on your mind, and I'm going to start with my main man, Smoking Jim Frazier. What's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. If you want to green,
here, coming at you.
You got to see Levine. Oh, man. Passing it to one of my favorite white receivers.
He started with the collar in the first 30 seconds.
I thought he was talking about the chair I was sitting in.
He was eyeing that up. Chip, he did eye that up. I noticed that as he was walking by it.
But what's on my mind? Do we all know what tomorrow is?
It's Black History Month.
Nobody knows more about black people than Al Levine, the talking machine. And for my main man, Chip Hainer, I hope that you got some good black trivia for the month of February for us, brother.
There's plenty from the from the Negro
I'll give you that black.
that I'd be happy to share with you. I've got tons of it.
I'll let you read that Black Negro League book that you read 19 pages of. I still have that.
I think I could do a little better this time.
Two of the greatest teams in the Negro Leagues played here in Pittsburgh, the Crawfords and the Grays.
The Grays, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
He already knew that.
It was St. Louis Blues was a team, too.
Where were they from? What do you got?
But what's on my mind is tomorrow on another show on a different network.
Steel City Sports World?
Yeah,
on PCTV?
Yeah,
at 6 o'clock?
We annually honor some high school football players. Tomorrow, and we also pick a player of the year. And I just wanted to mention some of the guys that'll be on the show. Darius Wise from Beaver.
Yes,
Whoa.
Will
yes.
be making his appearance on the show. If anybody knows my history with Darius Wise, he'll be winning the trophy of Player of the Year.
Did he not? Was he not injured in the playoffs this year?
No.
Darius. No. Okay. Beaver Falls. Was he on Beaver?
He was on Beaver. Not Beaver
And they didn't
Falls.
make the playoffs, did they?
Right. They didn't make
That's what I remembered about him, because that was a travesty.
Yeah. Should have made the playoffs.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Let's continue.
How about
Smokey Jim.
Dwayne Murray from Steel Valley?
Okay.
Will be on the show. Cam Durant, little quarterback from a high school near Monroeville.
Frazier.
Penn Hills, that would be.
A couple friends of the show, R.J. Hart and Tank Smith, will be on there, and of course we have Miss Allegheny County America,
Mrs.
Sindel Taylor will be
Mrs.
handing out the awards. But what's also on my mind is a couple of things. One would be LeBron James.
Who even cares about that?
Rabbit ears, thin skin. He's upset with Charles Barkley because Charles Barkley said some things about his on-court basketball things, and he said some things out of bounds. I thought about Charles Barkley, who had a checkered pass off the court. And what's also on my mind is a rap star here in Pittsburgh, Le'Veon Bell, who dissed Skip Bayless in his latest rap video.
I read about that.
And all I have to say to Le'Veon Bell is, first of all, I always let people know when I'm wrong on my draft report. And I'm only right 97% of the time.
Are you serious?
Had Dak Prescott #1, and I had in my draft report that in no rounds would I draft Zeke Elliott. So I was wrong about the young man. I think Zeke Elliott's the best running back in football. I think the best ability is your availability. Le'Veon Bell, I love you, but until football becomes life and death for Le'Veon Bell, groin injury with an opportunity to go to the playoffs, didn't look like your leg was falling off. I thought you
I got to interrupt
went
you.
in there and helped.
Great guys get injured.
Well,
He was injured.
I've seen guys playing a Super Bowl with a broken leg.
We all have.
Montgomery?
Jack Youngblood.
Oh yeah.
We all have.
I seen Ronnie Lott cut off part of his finger to continue to play. That
Yes,
was
sir.
dangling out there, and you sit down because you don't feel like if you're not 100%, you can't help the team. He was at least 80%.
He come in and couldn't go.
Yeah. As soon as he found out he wasn't going to be
He
able to
come back
run.
on the field, and he gave it a shot.
But the difference between athletes in previous generations as opposed to this one, athletes now are corporations, and they're trying to protect their brand. They're not so much worried about being the best they can be and trying to be a champion. It's all about making money.
Well, let's not
And you're
call them-
about that.
Let's not lump them all. There's still some guys who are warriors out there. Rich Incognito, my favorite player. He don't miss no
you
games.
didn't say that with a serious
I love
face.
Rich Incognito. I would
I
take
know.
him even when he.
They loved Conrad Dobler. I'd say.
I love Conrad Dobler.
One of the dirtiest
My
players
favorite
in the
player
league.
of all time
Who?
is Romanowski. And Romanowski loved beating
Do you
up
have a
brothers.
first name?
Bill
And
Romanowski.
spitting in their faces.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't care how a guy makes.
All right, back to Le'Veon Bell. He's a quitter. Quit on the team.
Well,
Quit on everybody.
I'm not saying he quit on the team. I'm just saying.
Well, if he didn't play, he quit.
Football's not life and death, so I would rate Zeke Elliott ahead of Le'Veon Bell, and that's one of the main reasons why he got on Skip Bayless, because Skip Bayless feels like Zeke Elliott's the better running back, and
Time will tell.
I agree. Best availability. I think Zeke Elliott plays with that groin injury, and Le'Veon. got
Let's
hurt
see when he
every year
gets a
before.
bad groin.
Well,
True. And that's what's on my mind.
okay.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. Very critical, but I appreciate it. And
You're just not a fan of rap.
what is that?
Something that you put on your Christmas present.
I just seen Straight Outta Compton yesterday on DVD, brother.
Something you put on your Christmas
Smoking
present.
Jim, I like when you're all fired up because I like to know who you were hanging out with. That's my point. I can't wait.
Easy E.
Appreciate your insights, Smoking Jim. Like the race card that comes out all the time. Can't wait for tomorrow for what you do then. 29 days of it.
28 this year.
Ah, jeez. I was trying to slip that one past you. You started a day early. Chip Painter, let's hear what's on your mind.
Thank you, Alan. And to speak somewhat to Jim's point regarding Le'Veon Bell, is that, apparently this injury that Le'Veon Bell that put him out of the AFC Championship game was an injury that he had been dealing with the entire playoffs, even though it was never reported to the NFL. And even though he did nothing but set the Steelers' rushing record in the first playoff game and then break the Steelers' rushing record in the second game, all the while,
the extra effort that Smoking Jim
all
wanted
of the
to see.
while he's nursing this nagging injury. And why all of a sudden when we go to Foxborough it was to the point where he couldn't play, I find it curious. But that leads me to what's on my mind. And what's on my mind, again, is how much of a farce the NFL has become and the rules that they have, the way that they choose to enforce them, and the complete lack of regard for players' health and well-being. Now, my examples to this are, now the NFL is going to investigate the Pittsburgh Steelers because Le'Veon Bell was nursing this injury while he was breaking a team's record and then breaking it the following week, and he wasn't on the injury report, okay? So the Steelers are now going to be investigated because they didn't disclose this information. Okay. Now, let's reverse back to the first playoff game against the Miami Dolphins. And Bud Dupree completely flattened Matt Moore, knocked him into next week, and he did not even miss a play. And what did the NFL do after they conducted a thorough investigation? They determined that the Miami Dolphins did not follow the concussion protocol that is in the collective bargaining agreement. But because of, I guess, television ratings or because it was the playoffs, I don't know, they're not going to punish the Miami Dolphins for not following the protocols. Well, why do you have protocols or rules that are to be followed and there is no punishment for breaking the rules? I mean, why are you going to investigate the Steelers for not putting Le'Veon Bell on an injury report when he's breaking records and running better than any other running back in the playoffs, but you're not going to punish the Dolphins who clearly broke the protocol? That leads me to, where's the NFLPA? You're supposed to be protecting your players, the health and well-being of your players, and the team is completely disregarding that. To me, that violates the collective bargaining agreement, and we're not going to punish that. And this just leads to a bigger point, is how much of a joke that the NFL has become. And it's been pretty evident by the way the television ratings have been in the NFL throughout the whole season. What do you get, about 5 people watching a Thursday night game? You have no interest in that. Ratings have been falling on Sunday night, Monday night, even the Sunday afternoon games. Whether Jim believes it or not, the numbers are there. Look them up.
He did, and he found a variance.
So people are just getting tired of this. We're gonna enforce rules for somebody that deflated a football, but somebody that's a team that is not worried about a player's health and well-being, we're not going to enforce those rules. So what rules you choose to administrate or the ones you choose not to is completely arbitrary, and there's no consistency to it. So how can you have any respect for it? Last but not least, I'm going to make a bold prediction here about the Super Bowl, and it has nothing to do with the outcome of the game. And I think this is going to be one of the lowest viewed, the television ratings will be the lowest on this Super Bowl that they've been in a number of years. Mark my words, Wait till you find out what the television ratings are on Monday. You'll see there's a drop.
You woke Smoking Jim up.
All I know is the ratings will beat the World Series and the NBA championship and hockey.
I'm looking about the ratings from previous Super Bowls because I am going to compare apples to apples.
That's unusual.
Just the facts. Just the facts.
And folks, this is what we provide for you. Thanks for being fans of our show. I know you love Smoking Jim's smile, and that's just how he is. He doesn't want to hear anything else because if we say it, it's an excuse.
Hey,
if
Jim-
he says it, it's a fact.
Hey, Jim's my dear friend.
What happened to Ray Sherman this year in Seattle?
I respect his.
That's what I'm talking about.
I respect his point of view. I don't always agree with it, and that's perfectly okay.
Well, I got to disagree with you. I respect some of his views because some of them are not based on reality. He's just trying to entertain the folks and me and you, Chip.
We get plenty of that these days in the news, don't we? A little separation from reality.
Well, they call that fake news.
Oh yeah,
We call it stuff Smoking Jim just made up to see who's going to react to it. I'm going to do what's on my mind. And Ray Sherman, you left him out of the conversation because he was injured all year. Shocking. All right, I support Stay Joey Strong. Could we get a close-up, Ethan? If you got the camera, if you could pull in on that. This is the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. Check them out online. There's a picture before Joey when he first stages of DIPG, and towards the end before he passed away, just before 9 years old. It was terrible there. DIPG, trying to find a cure. Donate something to their website. Go to Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. Check it out. I end each show with Stay Joey Strong. We're big supporters of the Fabus family and all they go through. Next, I was at a meeting of the Bethel Park Community Foundation. If you have anything you're doing in the community, we approved a couple grants the other day when we had our meeting from $100 to $5,000. They have money available. Go to bpcf.org, pull an application out and apply to it. Our next meeting is March 23rd, so maybe we can approve your money as soon as then. Check it out to help out in the community and the kids. What's on my mind? Man, after listening to you two, I'm so full of it, I can't think straight right now. Missed the Steelers. It was an awkward Sunday. There's a game that they play, Smoking Jim, maybe you know, a football game, but I missed it.
NFL All-Pro game.
Yeah, so did half the people elected to the game.
Yeah, and I heard an interesting stat. I'm a stat man at times. That's why I love Chip's Trivia Time, which will come up in our next segment. And it said since they've been playing in Florida the last 2 years, I'm not aware of it, but I've heard that, 80 guys have refused to play in the last 2 years, and maybe they should go back to Hawaii.
I agree with that.
There we go. See, I wasn't making it up. Well, we got Smoking Jim's expert opinion on it. And whatever happened in the game, I heard it may have been more exciting. But what excited me is I didn't watch the NHL game. And then I heard like 4 different scores, and I heard Ovi and Crosby were on the same line.
Wow.
I should have maybe tuned in for a second of that because people were saying that was
It was not worth watching. Believe me, there was
Oh, I'm glad I did
2 to 3 hours worth of your life that you didn't get back if you watched the NHL All-Star game.
I always enjoy that.
No.
The next time will be your first time.
I enjoy watching hockey without hitting
Smoking
as much as
Jim.
I enjoy football without tackling.
Smoking Jim, you always say you're an honest man. That statement proved you're not. So with that, I'm done with what's on my mind right now. I was a little scattered there, but I brought my boys into it. We're going to talk about our next segments after we go to commercial. We got this new software, and we're going to fade out because we got Devin Shea and we got our Tessa in there. He's showing her the ropes.
Fade to black.
And we'll fade to a commercial for a couple minutes.
I brought out a show on the radio about 5 or 6 years ago to try to share a lot of the information that I run across on a weekly basis with clients and to share those experiences and the knowledge gained from other people's either mistakes or the correct decisions they've made and their successes, and to try to share that with the community so more people could benefit. So we came over and met Dave, and it was real easy. He said, there you go, are you ready? We're very lucky to have this and the resources over here, where it would be quite expensive to try to produce a show like this elsewhere. Bethel Park TV is offering it to all of us. I hope this grows a lot, and I hope a lot more people do take advantage of this. You're missing out on a marvelous opportunity if you don't. It's really a free gift for you to be able to share yourself and your experiences and what your value is with others at low to no risk. Anyone who's considering doing a show, come on out of your shell. Come on over here. Dave's very gentle, very nice. He'll help guide you through this. If you make mistakes, he'll edit it out and record it over, so don't worry about saying something wrong. Just come over and share what you have with others. Just be yourself, come over here and let other people see who you are, why you're here, and who you're trying to help and what you're trying to say. It is that easy.
Welcome back. Thanks for not changing that dial. Chief, I hope you had some dessert. we got our segments coming up right now. One of my favorites is Fiction and Fact with Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And like I told you guys, tomorrow is our annual high school.
Well, no, I wanted to hear Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
And that kind of ties in with one of the shows that we had years back.
Where at? Where at?
On at Steel City Sports World.
Okay.
And we brought a young man in that probably wasn't deserving to get recognized. And he wanted to make his announcement on the show, even though he had a basketball game later on that night. White guy, so you know his future wasn't in college basketball. But he came in and he
Thanks for
looked like,
sharing that.
I mean, this would be a high school close to Monroeville.
Yeah, high school close to Monroeville, and he came
It's too
in.
easy, Chip.
And he came in, and he looked like.
Was he dressed in his basketball uni?
He was dressed in his basketball
Perfect.
uniform, and we were honoring a couple other players who were football players at that particular high school. That
Were
was
they
also,
dressed in their uniforms?
And they were also basketball players, and they had to leave halfway through the show. And
Just west of Monroeville, right?
and so he looked like, he didn't say much, but he looked like the character that fought Rocky on Rocky IV from Russia. Had the crew
Drago.
Drago.
You mean he was a big, tall kid?
He's a big, tall kid, and you know, he didn't say much,
What was his name?
but his name, most people know him now as Gronk, but at the time we knew him as Robert Gronkowski. And he only caught 8 passes his senior year. 4 of them went for touchdowns because the school he went to,
Which school was that?
they would rather have a kidney stone and run than pass the football. They'd rather pass a kidney stone. But school was Woodland Hills High School.
Woody High.
Maybe they're a little bit more concerned about winning games than padding statistics.
Well, if you got Gronkowski, you'd think you'd have more than he'd catch more than less than one pass a game,
I
especially
wonder how
when
many
half
games
of them
they,
went
I
to.
wonder how many games they won.
Yeah,
that was most important.
Yeah, they won a lot of games, but even though he didn't catch many passes, he did play well defensively. But he had his choices of where he wanted to go, and the choices was Kentucky, Clemson, Ohio State, which I was surprised that they had offered him a scholarship, Louisville, Syracuse, and we were all shocked when he announced on the show before he left out that he was going to Arizona.
Wow.
Arizona, where his first 2 years at Arizona, he came out after his junior year, even though he didn't play his junior year. Most people are surprised probably to hear that he missed his entire junior year of college.
Why?
And still went in the second round
Why?
because of a back operation. Same thing that's still plaguing him today. Maybe the greatest tight end in NFL history. But he had
He
a
is
back
now.
injury, and that's the reason why he slid in the draft.
How many operations has he had on that now? 3 or 4?
At least.
I think it's 3 now.
Yeah.
There's
Not
multiple.
counting other surgeries he's
Yeah,
had.
they had the what was it, the bicep or something like that, torn
Is
bicep.
that what it was?
Because he wears that brace on his one arm.
Okay.
You know.
He wears that copper fit that your hero wears on TV, the commercials.
Ric Flair? Who's my hero?
Whoever.
I'm trying to set you up.
I don't watch much TV.
Yeah, in between, you watch commercials. I know that. Thanks, Smoking Jim. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
You're welcome.
And the race card did come out, folks, for anybody that's counting. If you have a drink each time he mentions a race, I understand that. So you probably can't even watch the TV
The
anymore.
only race I'm going to mention is the Daytona 500.
Definitely. Excellent choice. It's time for Chip's Trivia Time.
Right.
Oh, thank you, Alan. And this week, you know, if you pay attention to my trivia segments, generally I like to make my trivia segments pertain to what is going on in the world of sports at the moment. By the way, the Connecticut women's basketball team's consecutive game winning streak is still going on, and I will continue to recognize that, if for no other reason than to get Jim all wound up. But so this weekend, I hear there's a football game. Okay, somewhere down in Houston, a Super Bowl's going to be played. Mm-hmm. So you know, I was kind of thinking about, well, you know, everybody thinks about, well, we could talk about who's won the most Super Bowls or who's thrown the most touchdown passes, who's got the most yards rushing, who's had the most yards receiving. I threw all that out. I decided what I am going to make note of this week is the worst Super Bowl performances in history, and I'm going to stick with just the top 10, and I do have 5 that will make honorable mentions, so that the list will extend to 15. But my first worst Super Bowl performance happened way back in Super Bowl 20, and this would have been the first time the Patriots were in the Super Bowl and lost. Okay, Tony Eason, Champagne Tony, out of the University of Illinois. Mm-hmm. He was actually one of the quarterbacks that were drafted in the same year as Elway, Dan Marino, Ken O'Brien,
Todd
Blackledge. So he was one of many. It was probably, they say, the greatest quarterback draft of all time. Mm-hmm. So Tony Eason, let's put it this way. If you remember Super Bowl 20, the Fridge had a better day on offense than Tony Eason did.
Wow.
The Bears wanted 46 defense, forced Eason into the worst game ever by a starting quarterback, so bad that Eason completed as many passes in a Super Bowl game as the 3 of us have.
Wow. Wow.
By the time he was replaced by Steve Grogan in the second quarter, Eason was 0 for 6, had fumbled once and been sacked 3 times. The Bears cruised to a 46-10 win. Next up, I go back to Super Bowl 12. And at this point, Craig Morton, who was a Denver Broncos starting quarterback, this was a bigger nightmare for Morton than when he used to alternate plays with Roger Staubach of the Dallas Cowboys. Facing his old team, Morton completed as many passes, 4, as he had intercepted. He finished 4 for 15 for 39 yards and was replaced by the immortal Norris Weiss.
Don't remember him.
Okay, number 3 on our list, and you would have
Louis Weiss.
that is a good trivia answer because nobody would ever know that a man named Norris Weiss ever played in any Super Bowl. Now
do not,
you would
thanks.
figure with the level of futility that was exhibited by the Buffalo Bills of the early 90s that yes, they would have a player in here in the top 10 worst performances. And actually, in the same game, they have 2 players, and I'll get to the other one later. Thurman Thomas. Before the game, Thomas had complained that he didn't receive enough respect or attention, even though he had just been named the NFL's most valuable player. He couldn't find his helmet on Buffalo's first series of the game and proceeded to rush for 13 yards on 10 carries as the Redskins beat the Bills. Nice job, Thurman. Now, also, this year is the second time the Atlanta Falcons have made the Super Bowl. And the first time they made the Super Bowl, a certain Eugene Robinson
Wow.
had one of the worst performances in Super Bowl history. The night before the Super Bowl, the Falcons starting safety, known for his community work and deep religious faith, was arrested on a charge of soliciting an undercover police officer for a certain sexual favor.
She looked good.
Coach Dan Reeves started Robinson anyway, but Robinson got burned twice deep, including an 80-yard touchdown to Rod Smith that put Denver in control on their way to a 34-19 victory. Number 5. We go back all the way to Super Bowl III. Do we know what's significant about Super Bowl III? A certain Beaver Falls native guaranteed a win in Super Bowl III. Joe Willie Namath of the upstart AFL Football League was taking on the powerhouse Baltimore Colts of the NFL. With Johnny Unitas missing most of the year with an elbow injury, Morrow became the Colts starting quarterback, and he won MVP honors for the season. But he was anything but MVP in this game. In fact, it was his performance, 6 for 17 for 71 yards and 3 interceptions, as much as Joe Namath's passing that allowed Broadway Joe's prediction to come through. So
There you go.
another stellar performance. Next we'll go to John Elway. Now,
Elway's on that list?
oh, yes, John Elway's on that list because before John Elway became a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, he was 0-3 in the Super Bowl. Okay? He was the 80s version of Fran Tarkenton. It'd get you to the championship game, but not much further. Elway dropped to 0-3 in the Super Bowl action in Super Bowl 24 in a humiliating 55-10 defeat to Joe Montana's 49ers. He completed 10 passes for 26 yards, 10 of 26 passes for 108 yards, was intercepted twice. He fumbled twice. Next up, we're going to go to Super Bowl 35. And Jim, do you know what's significant about Super Bowl 35?
No.
Ray Lewis and the Baltimore Ravens won their first, well, actually, let's just put it this way. The
Greatest player
Cleveland
ever.
Browns, after they moved from Cleveland and became the Ravens, won a Super Bowl. Kerry Collins in Super Bowl 35. Sure, Baltimore's defense was fearsome, but Collins looked lost in this one. He was 15 for 39, 112 yards passing, 4 interceptions, including one that was run back for a score.
Did better than I thought.
Next up, a former Steeler. But this was in Super Bowl 17, and it was David Woodley of the Miami Dolphins. And he was without a doubt the worst quarterback to ever start a Super Bowl because in his career he threw 48 touchdowns and he had 63 career interceptions. He played like it in Miami's 27-17 loss to Washington. He completed just 4 of 14 passes for 97 yards. Now, let's not forget that 76 of those 97 yards came on one pass play in the first quarter to Jimmy Cephalo, and David Woodley was eventually replaced by Don Strock.
Jimmy Cephalo, Penn State, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Next up, we go back to Super Bowl. I like to call this Super Bowl Triple X because as far as I'm concerned, it was triple X rated. The Steelers played the Cowboys and Neil O'Donnell.
Come on now, he played
His
a good game.
final numbers were bad enough: 28 of 49 for 239 yards, a ridiculous 4.8 yards per attempt. But it was the worst throw in Super Bowl history that earned him a spot on the list. The Steelers trailed the Cowboys 13-7 midway through the third quarter when Dallas's Larry Brown intercepted an O'Donnell pass that wasn't within 10 yards of the nearest Steeler. Brown's pick helped set up a TD. Dallas went on to beat Steelers 27-17. And now we talked about Super Bowl 26 and how badly Thurman Thomas played. Well, there was another player on that team that played equally as poor.
Really?
Jim Kelly, Buffalo's no-huddle offense, produced the only Super Bowl with two of the worst performances. Kelly tossed up a whopping 58 passes, completed 28 of them for 275 yards. Even more damaging, he threw 4 picks, and he fumbled 3 times. Not one of Jim Kelly's shining moments. So that wraps up the top 10 worst performances in Super Bowl history. Also receiving honorable mentions, Billy Kilmer of the Redskins in Super Bowl 7, 14-28, 104 yards, 3 picks. Fran Tarkenton of the Vikings in Super Bowl 9, 11 for 26, 102 yards, 3 interceptions, and he was sacked in the end zone for a safety. Joe Theismann of the Redskins in Super Bowl 18, 16-35, 243, 2 interceptions, including the worst flare pass in Super Bowl history.
He's still talking about it.
And then this one, there's 4 words to describe this for the Buffalo Bills. Scott Norwood, wide right. In Super Bowl 25. And then once again, Thurman Thomas shined in a Super Bowl 27, 11 carries for 19 yards. And it is no small wonder why the Bills were 0-4 in Super Bowls. So that goes in the Hall of Shame for Super Bowl history.
Well, at least Jim Kelly won one championship.
That was in the USFL for the Houston
Gamblers.
Gamblers. Yes, he did.
You on it.
And who was the coach of that team? Miles Davis.
No, it was Jack.
Miles Davis was his offensive coordinator. He was the run and shoot office.
And Jack Pardee was the head coach, right? Yeah.
Very good. Thanks, Chip. Appreciate it. Learned a few things. Norris Weiss.
Norris Weiss. He relieved a starting quarterback that had won the league MVP.
I like that. Proof of that. I looked that one up.
Just the facts, Jim. Just the facts.
Hey, I got one for Chip. Who alternated with Roger Staubach before Craig Morton?
Before Craig Morton, there's Dandy Don Man.
There it is. Dandy Don. 3-time All-Pro.
Penguin update. Nashville 1, Pittsburgh 0.
Nashville got a team.
We'll talk Penguins
Yeah,
after
the Predators. Yeah, you remember Dandy Don, he would say, turn out the lights.
Yeah.
The party's over.
Yeah, he was a great. He
Yeah.
passed away recently.
Yes, he did.
Well, Pitt's making
What's
a game
on-
of it with UNC.
We got On Location. We're going to Hollywood Lanes next Monday.
Woo!
Jeffrey Park owns it. It'll be day after the Super Bowl. He's
Super Bowl
promoting
show.
that, so it'll be our Super Bowl show. Come on out to Hollywood Lanes, 7:30 to 8:30. Great venue, great stage, and you get to hear Smoking Jim and his opinions of the game and whatever else he may be talking about. We'll find out. We'll keep you in suspense. See you there at Hollywood Lanes, 7:30 to 8:30 on the 6th of February. So appreciate you. And that's it. We're going to go to a commercial break and stay tuned with us. We'll come back and talk some Penguins when we come back.
Visit the Oliver Miller Homestead, an 18th century reenactment site located just off the circle on Corrigan Drive in South Park. Self-guided tours are available each Sunday from May 1st until December 8th from 1:30 until 4:30 p.m. with guides in 18th century garb located around the grounds to answer questions and to give information. Your tour will begin in a reproduction bank barn where displays give information on the movement west, You will also see the Miller Still and learn about the production of whiskey and the importance of it and of the Whiskey Rebellion to this area. Follow the Miller Trail up the path and visit the transportation shed, demonstration shed, forge, a reproduction log house, the original spring house, gardens, and finally end at the stone house. Each month, the guides host at least one special event. The homestead is also a great place for tours, tailored to the needs of school-age children, scout groups, or adults. Visit our website at www.olivermillerhomestead.org for a schedule for the year and much more information on the history of the Miller family, our organization, and pricing information.
One of the things we do at BPTV is encourage our producers to film on location. Not only does shooting on location give our producers the opportunity to take advantage of their subject matter, filming in different locations gives each program its own distinct flavor. This also helps anyone who's flipping through the channels avoid confusion when they turn on BPTV. With around 500 programs produced at BPTV each year, the last thing we want people to think is that we're only broadcasting one program. So, you need to come into BPTV to pitch your TV show, but in terms of where you actually end up taping your show, the sky's the limit.
Just tied up the Predators. It's 1-1.
There we go, Chip. Thanks for that score. We'll go back to a commercial break. No, thanks for staying tuned to Comcast 7 only in Bethel and Verizon 32. We appreciate that. We may wrap this show up with different sports talk, but we're going to start talking about the Penguins there. You know, I did miss the, All-Star game. Not disappointed at all. Thanks, Chip, for the insights.
Well, here's what I did not like about the All-Star game.
I wanted to hear about it.
They broke the divisions up, the Eastern and Western Division, into two separate teams, and they had 3-on-3 play. So there was,
That creates some excitement.
But there was no checking, and it was just basically
offense.
Skating around, shooting the puck at the goaltender, and there was 2 10-minute periods. And then the winner of the first game would play the winner of the second game. It was the two Western Conference teams. And then the East played the West, and the East team won 4-3 at the end. But, the scores in the first games were like 10-6. And, the goaltenders really didn't have much chance.
Sure.
Nobody was really playing. There was no defense. It was, 3-on-3
That's why
hockey.
Guys like Smoking Jim like watching that.
3-on-3 hockey
Get the puck
be interesting if they're playing for something, if they're putting in their effort. And that's the same reason why the Pro Bowl is not worth watching, because nobody's trying. Really, of all the All-Star games for all the major sports, the only one really is as true to the regular game as anything is baseball, because the pitcher still has to throw the ball over the plate. Batter's got 3 strikes, he's out. The game is still relative. And you watch the basketball All-Star game, which I think is probably going to be this weekend. And, the score will be 250 to 249. It's like nobody plays any defense. I don't find that kind of a game enjoyable.
You're more a purist. A guy like Smoking Jim, who watches all these sports and is an expert on football, loves it.
I don't like video games.
Well, neither is Smoking Jim, but he likes these video game scores. He just tells you, listen to this. Here we go. Ding, ding.
There's no All-Star game like the NHL All-Star game. Not only the
When did you see it?
Not only is the games exciting, but all the things leading up to it, all the different skills, events. I mean, it's just amazing to me how great an athlete you have to be able to perform that well on skates the way they do.
Well, I will give you that, yes, hockey players are some of the most talented professional athletes. Not the most, but some of the. But the thing that amazes
Didn't
me
the black
more,
guy win the black guy win the
the
MVP?
thing that amazes me more about
where's he
hockey
coming
players
out with it?
is how tough hockey players are, because these guys will get
Pulled grinds.
teeth knocked out. They go in, they pack it
Broken
with
jaw.
cotton, and they're back out on the ice playing. They get 18 stitches in their face, and they're back out there playing. I mean, you see guys playing, like you say, with broken arms, broken legs, broken hands.
Rick
and they just
Tocchet
keep
come in with a broken jaw.
with a broken jaw.
Well, Dr. Welby answered my question. Was there a black man that won MVP? Because I got a post that there was somebody black won the MVP at the NHL.
How do you
you know,
even get a post like
Wayne,
that?
I don't know if Wayne Simmons is African American or not, but I know he plays for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yes.
Did he get the MVP?
He did
Yes.
get the
Okay,
MVP.
'cause I
and I
did
don't
get a
know if
post.
he's African American or not. I
They said
couldn't tell you.
somebody told me a black guy.
Well, I don't know that to be a fact right now. So
you got a
quote me-
smartphone? Look that up.
Well,
Smoking Jim, next show
You're during
during Black History Month.
smarter than mine.
You can report on
You
that.
got Twitter on yours. Shoot.
You can report on that, Smoking Jim.
Because the brothers posted one black guy was
Is he
MVP.
signaling you?
One black guy was MVP in the NHL, and the black guy post, "We're taking over everything." You ain't taking over hockey 'cause you got.
Get the heck out of here. I can't believe
I
conversation
can't hate
like
them
this.
brothers. I
But,
can't hate them brothers.
So tonight starts the Penguins run to defend the Stanley Cup, and can they repeat as Stanley Cup champions
They
this
just
year?
lost 2 in a row.
And they're playing Nashville Predators tonight at the Paint Can. I guess since we
PPG.
don't want to call it the console anymore.
We can't.
No, because they changed
so-
the naming. So it's now the Paint Can. But here's the thing that I think should put the league on notice and the Penguins. You look at the way the Penguins are performing, and there is not a recent Stanley Cup champion that has given up as many goals per game as the Penguins are giving up this year. The fact of the matter is, yes, they can score a lot of goals in any given game.
3.5 a game.
But they're giving up 2.8, almost 3 goals a game on
That's
an
not-
average. But you know what? And when you get into the playoffs, it makes a big, huge difference because goals get harder to score, and they've got to tighten up. The goals that are being scored against them, you've got to tighten up your defense. You got to get better goalie play. So far, we've got 2. They say number 1 goaltenders. One has been playing very well, one not so much. So, what are they going to do to shore up the defense? That's the question
They
that I
need a
have.
player or two is what they need.
As
And
they
they
move
need some
into
healthy
the,
players.
into
As
the
Smoking
playoff
Jim
run.
will tell you about in a second or two. Right, Smoking Jim?
Well, I just heard some disturbing news that by the March deadline,
From who?
the trade deadline in March,
Yeah.
that the Penguins may be trading Fleury, and I think that would be a mistake.
Well, it would. I would beg to differ on one point. What would they get back in return for him? If they could get a top 4 defenseman,
They can't.
It would make sense to do that because Fleury is a highly paid backup goaltender, and we have a young goaltender who's almost NHL ready on our farm club that they would pay significantly less money to. And yes, it does make a difference because the Penguins are up against the cap, and that makes a big difference.
I'll get the puck out of here.
No,
You're almost
I'm
giving
just
up
being-
3
Stole my
goals.
line.
You're almost giving up 3 goals a game. You
He's
need
the reason
Fleury.
They're
why.
scoring 3.5, man.
He's the reason why, Jim.
He didn't play in that game against Washington when they gave up 7-8 points.
7.
No, but they won that
7
game, didn't
Smoking
they?
Jim.
Yeah, but you still give it up. That one.
Yeah,
You
I
missed,
know.
you missed
I'm
that
telling
one.
you, that's,
missed that.
that's
I
what
watched
the
that whole
problem is.
game.
But
Get the heck out of here.
professional sports players are disposable. This attitude that that the team should have any loyalty to the players. Let me tell you something. Players have absolutely no loyalty to teams. You know what? The players are always going to go after where they can get the most money, and the teams have every right to shop a player for as much as they can get for him when they feel that his time is.
Spoken
Passed
like
by.
a true Pirate fan.
Hey,
I
So
like to
it-
win world championships
Yeah.
around here.
really?
Thanks for that insight, Smoking Jim. I don't know how it come out of there. Thanks for wearing that shirt, Chip. because he was reaching for something.
No, and,
And he pulled it right out.
And the fact that I'm
My
wearing
man.
a Pirates shirt, because he brought this into the conversation, we may as well go ahead and have a little
We
discussion
can. This is open discussion.
about the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, we're 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting for spring training.
Smoking Jim knew that.
My report, and this will make Jim happy, that the Pirates lost Sean Rodriguez, who was their super utility player, and the player that they have pegged to take his place this year and get considerably more playing time is a young Adam Frazier. The player that Jim liked very much. Now, also my inquiries have found out that the Pirates are coming back very healthy into spring training. The players that finished out the season on the disabled list, Starling Marte, Josh Harrison, Garrett Cole, Jordy Mercer, all these players are now healthy. And they're going to be healthy going into spring training, and I think that's more important for Garrett Cole than anybody else, because Garrett Cole came into spring training last year late, and he tried to catch up too soon, and he sat there and fought nagging injuries all year, and I think subsequently that affected his play. And the Pirates need Garrett Cole to be their number one starter. Last year we were looking at Francisco Liriano to be that man for us.
He blew up.
And he blew up, and we need to have a big year this year out of Garrett Cole. And this is the year. Now, this is his first year.
You're as big as
of being
fans, Smoking
arbitration
Jim.
eligible,
heck?
where he's finally getting paid. But if he wants to continue to get top dollar, now is his time to shine. Now is his time where he has to perform. And I think Garrett Cole's coming into the season with the right kind of attitude. And because the Pirates finished below 500 last year, last year the expectations were so high going into spring training, coming off a 98 win season, that that maybe they were unrealistically high. And I think going in this year, the Pirates are not looked at as being a favorite. And I think the Pirates have got a lot of players that can perform better that will make them a contender this year. So I'm really excited for the upcoming season. I'm looking forward to it. In 2 weeks, we're going to hear the crack of the ball on the bat.
How much? 2 weeks?
2 weeks,
You
spring
missed
training.
it while you were researching.
Be the first
While
step
you're
to
researching
the
those brothers.
be the first step to the wild card. Huh?
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful they have a winning record this year, and I would like to see Garrett Cole, who Smoking Jim has spoken highly of the last 2 years, that he should have been the starter opening day, and now he's left them alone. He care less about him. He just spit on him. But yeah, hopefully he does come in healthy. That'd be great.
And the Pirates
Because
do
he
have
has some nice pitches.
The Pirates do have a strong core of good players. They need improved performance out of Andrew McCutchen. They need improved performance out of Starling Marte, who had a nice batting average last year, but his power numbers dropped. Gregory Polanco was a pleasant surprise last year, and I'd like to see his continued development. And
McCutchen could be gone, though. Who
Get him
knows?
out. Get
McCutchen
him out
could
of
be
center
gone, and
field.
also, you know what? McCutchen could have an MVP caliber season. Either way,
I'm thinking he improves over what he did
I
last year.
I think
That's
he's gonna,
my thought.
I think he's going to prove once again why he's one of the top 5 players in the National League this year.
Grow your hair back.
And with that insight, Smoking Jim will continue
and
to
let's
be
move him out of center field.
an NFL scout.
You know what? The fortunate
It'll
thing
be presented
is
to
that the manager decides where the players play. The players don't decide where they want to play. And I'm absolutely certain that Clint Hurdle, Neil Huntington, they're going to make the right choices where they feel is in the best interest of the team.
There you go. You
Long
got
as
that
Clint-
from Chip.
long
Smoking Jim, these are just excuses and negativity. I can't believe how negative you
As
are.
long as Clint Hurdle don't start drinking again, they got an outside shot.
Why would you bring that
Why
up?
did you bring that up? The guy's been clean and
Sober.
sober for 17 years.
And this is a team that can drive you to drinking.
How many games have you actually seen?
I've seen. I'm gonna go to something this year.
3 innings.
He still won't
I
answer
want to
that
see the
question.
St. Louis Blues.
Where are they from? Where are they from?
Well,
They're in hockey.
yes.
And what are you wearing a basketball hat for?
It's Chicago.
And what does that mean?
I want them to cut down on the killing. Chicago.
I agree with you there. Smoking Jim is
Yeah,
a,
what's
so
going on
you
in
know,
Chicago
yeah,
is
breaks my heart.
that
Murder
does
City.
every night. Every night, it's just it's terrible.
why can't we all get along, Smoking Jim?
I'm aware
Why
this
can't we
hat-
all get along?
I'm gonna wear
So
this hat
now
until they
that
stop.
since we brought up the subject of basketball, looks like the wheels have fallen off the Pitt basketball team.
Wow.
The Pitt basketball team has lost
Jamie
6
Dixon
games
got out of town at the right
in a
time.
row. Okay, and the Panthers got embarrassed by the Louisville Cardinals last Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And they had an equally disappointing performance, even though they played better on Saturday against Clemson.
But they got
Tonight they're in Chapel Hill. They're playing the University of North Carolina. Saturday they're going to be in at Duke. You know, so I mean, so the
I think they only
12 and
have
9 Pitt Panthers are going to ultimately end up being 12 and 11 after this weekend. And if you do remember, I mentioned last week, I felt that I didn't think the Pitt Panthers were going to be an NCAA tournament team. I doubt highly they'll be an NIT team this year. And at this point, I think they're lucky if the CBI will let them buy their way into their tournament.
Just ask Smoking Jim. He has that connection on the buying in.
Well, you know, and here's what the thing is with the Pitt Panthers is they've got 2 players that can score, but they're a team that does nothing but shoot the outside shot, and they're only shooting 28% from outside. You know, a jump shooting team needs to put the ball in the basket. They don't drive. They don't try to, you know,
Well, they got to rebound
take
a
any
little. They got
shots
to stop some
in the
shots.
paint. And the players have not bought into Kevin Stallings' system at all. And Kevin Stallings is a college basketball coach with a very good pedigree. And, you know, this is his first year with this team. And really, you know, it's an underperforming team. And, you know, they just don't have the horses to win many races. So it's going to be a long season for the Pitt Panthers this year.
What's their record in the ACC?
The record in the ACC before
One.
tonight was 1-7,
Right.
and you know the chances of them winning at North Carolina are slim. Winning at Duke, even though Krzyzewski has been laid up, but he's still pulling the strings there. Right now at the half, Pitt is down 42-36 to the University of North Carolina.
That's not
too
bad.
That's not too bad,
More.
but let's you know they were leading going into the half against Clemson and still lost by 8 on Saturday. So, you know,
They're just not a good team.
they're not a very good team. They've got 2 players that they can count on. They don't have anybody that plays defense, and once they get past their starting 5, they don't have any depth on their bench, and they certainly don't have any presence in the middle under the boards in the paint, and you know they're just going to be exploited in every game they play.
Oh, it's happened so far this year. So, except for the easy schedule they had early.
Well, that just goes to show you that the coaches pad their win-loss totals by playing a bunch of meatballs in the first part of the season. When you get into league play in the ACC, one of the top leagues in the country as far as you get into basketball.
Sure, it's a good basketball league.
You know, the shame of it was we were so competitive when we were in the Big East, and when the Big East came apart.
Because of money.
Yeah,
It was all about money.
I'll tell you what. In its heydays, the Big East I think was one of the most enjoyable conferences to watch. You know, especially the Big East tournament in Madison
without a
Square
doubt.
Garden.
Legendary.
And Pitt did well in that environment, playing up against Georgetown,
teams.
Syracuse, St. John's.
Yeah, boring basketball, yeah.
Smoking Jim, I got to disagree with you. But we got boxing this weekend. Smoking Jim, Bronson
right.
House,
Can't wait.
2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Come on out to check us out. We'll be filming and conversating a little bit. And I got to end the show with Stay Joey Strong.